Welcome to today's transformation dive into building your earn flow zone. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a financial waiting room, just twiddling your thumbs until your number gets called? That magical moment everything changes? Yeah, turns out most of us are in that queue, and a queue is actually a comfortable couch keeping us from doing the real work. If you're into real, actionable, money and mindset content, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think. Drop a comment with where you're watching from or your biggest money habit win. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. Section 1. The Big Break Myth. You feel it, don't you? That hum of frustration just below the surface. You're doing the work. You're trying to be smarter with money, to build something, to get ahead. Maybe you're just starting out, paycheck to paycheck, and the mountain of get-rich advice feels like it's written for people who already have money to play with. It's like trying to learn advanced calculus before you even know how to add. Maybe you're earning decent income, but somehow it all disappears, leaving you feeling like you're on a financial treadmill, running faster but not moving forward. You're checking your budget app, if you even have one, and props if you do, and the numbers just aren't adding up to progress. Or maybe you're ambitious, chasing big goals, launching that side hustle, pouring in hours, and the payoff feels agonizingly slow. Nowhere near the overnight success stories you see plastered online. You scroll social media and see someone else's highlight reel, and it just reinforces the feeling that you're missing the secret sauce, the one key ingredient that unlocks rapid growth. You're waiting for the big break, right? That one promotion, that perfect investment that quadruples overnight. That viral moment for your side project, maybe even that lottery ticket. Let's be real, sometimes the brain just wanders there, right? You tell yourself, once I have X amount, or once I land that big client, or once I finally have time to do that big project, then things will change. Then you'll really start building something. Then the earn flow zone will magically appear. Here's the uncomfortable truth you probably already suspect, but don't want to admit. The big break is a myth for 99% of people. It's a distraction. It's the financial equivalent of waiting for motivation to strike before you start cleaning your messy room. You'll be living in clutter forever. It rarely arrives in the dramatic flash you imagine, and even when something looks like an overnight success, there were usually years of invisible, consistent effort behind it. While you're waiting for that lightning bolt moment, you're ignoring the real power. The power isn't in the leap, it's in the steps. It's not in the grand, perfectly executed master plan. It's in the messy, imperfect, tiny actions you take today. Right now, because how you handle the small things isn't just practice for the big things, it is the big thing. This is a core concept many miss. Financial freedom isn't found in a single windfall, but built brick by brick, tiny decision by tiny decision. The surprising fact: most wealthy individuals didn't inherit their money or win the lottery. They built it slowly through consistent saving, investing, and making smart choices over a long period. It's the tortoise, not the hare. This challenges common thinking because we're hardwired to seek immediate, significant rewards. We see the highlight reel, not the thousands of hours of practice. The habit you need to break is the waiting habit. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment or the big win, you need to embrace the power of the small, seemingly insignificant actions. These actions compound over time, just like interest on your savings account. Think about getting in shape. Nobody gets six-pack abs from one trip to the gym. But showing up consistently, doing the reps, eating reasonably well, that builds the result. Money is the same. The cause-effect is simple. Waiting leads to stagnation. Consistent small action leads to compounding growth. This one habit changed everything for me. I stopped waiting for enough to start and started with whatever I had, doing whatever small, smart thing I could each day. Try this for a week. Identify just one small money habit you can implement daily. Maybe it's tracking every coffee purchase, transferring $5 to savings, reading one page of a finance book, or simply reviewing your bank account for 5 minutes. Don't aim for perfection, just consistency. Ask yourself, what tiny step could I take today that moves me forward, even if it feels insignificant? Stop waiting for the big break. Start with the small step. Okay, now that we've set the stage for how we're going to reshape our financial future, let's talk about the real engine behind lasting success, the one that builds fortunes, skills, and powerful mindsets. Compounding. People often think of compounding only with money, like earning interest on your interest, which then earns even more interest. And yes, financially, it is incredibly powerful. Albert Einstein is rumored to have called it the eighth wonder of the world. And while that might be a myth, the financial principle itself is absolutely legendary. You start with a small amount. Add consistent contributions. Let the returns build on themselves. And over time, that growth curve starts looking less like a gentle slope and more like a rocket launch. But the real magic, the surprising fact that most people completely overlook, happens when you apply this principle everywhere else in your life. This is the invisible engine of growth that powers not just your bank account, but your entire potential. Think about learning a new skill, like playing the guitar or mastering a new software program. You spend 15 minutes today practicing something simple, maybe a few basic chords or navigating the main interface. It feels insignificant, right? You sound terrible. Your fingers are clumsy. You make mistakes constantly. It's like trying to teach a brick to dance. You might think, this is never going to work. But you do it again tomorrow, and the day after. Each session, no matter how small, is building a tiny bit of muscle memory, a tiny bit of understanding, a tiny bit of confidence. You learn how to hold the pick slightly better. You find the right menu a little faster. Your brain makes tiny neural connections you're not even aware of. It feels glacially slow. You still make mistakes. You might have a day where it feels like you took 2 steps back, but you keep showing up. That small, consistent effort, compounded over weeks and months, is how mastery happens. It's like trying to get fit by doing 5 push-ups a day. Pathetic, right? Until suddenly, you can do 10, then 20, then 50. You weren't waiting for a big talent download. You were building it, piece by tiny piece, through the invisible engine of compounded effort. The cause-effect is crystal clear. Consistent, small inputs, over time, lead to disproportionately massive outputs. It's the difference between someone who reads 10 pages of a valuable book every night versus someone who waits to read a whole book in one go, which rarely happens. The 10-pager reads dozens of books a year and compounds knowledge. The other reads almost none. Here's a powerful prompt for reflection or action. Ask yourself, what's one non-financial skill or area of personal growth that you've been neglecting, thinking you need huge chunks of time or effort to improve? Now, try this for a week. Dedicate just 15 minutes a day to that area, focusing on one tiny, achievable step. Don't aim for mastery. Aim for consistency. Just show up. This one habit of consistent, tiny effort, applied broadly, changed everything for me, unlocking progress in areas where I felt stuck for years. This is the invisible engine, available to everyone, quietly building momentum, while others wait for the big break. Okay, let's dive into the details of your tiny daily actions. Because success, true growth, it's not usually one giant leap. It's a million tiny steps. We're talking about your tiny daily wins, or losses, if we're being honest. Think about your day, the stuff you do without even thinking. You know, the little habits you barely notice are running on autopilot. That automatic pull to grab your phone the second your eyes open, to scroll social media for 20 minutes, or that little ritual of hitting up the coffee shop every single morning for a fancy brew. Now on their own, these seem tiny, insignificant. Scrolling Instagram for 20 minutes, big deal. It's just unwinding, right? Grabbing a $5 coffee? It's just a small treat, a pick-me-up. But let's do the math, earn flow zone style, because this is where the magic, or the mischief, of compounding happens. That 20 minutes of scrolling a day, that's 100 minutes a week, over 85 hours a year. 85 hours. What could you learn in 85 hours? What could you build for your future? What could you plan for your financial freedom or personal growth? Time, like money, compounds. You're either investing it or spending it, minute by minute. Or that fancy coffee. Let's say it's a modest $5, 5 days a week. That's $25. Seems manageable. But compounded over a year, that's $1,300. Suddenly, that tiny action has a very real, non-tiny consequence on your bank account. That could be an emergency fund starter, a solid investment contribution, or even funding a skill-building course. These aren't judgments, just math. The cause-effect clarity here is undeniable. Small leaks sink big ships, and tiny inputs build mighty structures. The surprising, maybe even slightly unsettling insight here: you're already compounding things every single day. Your small, almost invisible, habitual actions, they are relentlessly carving the path of your future. Whether you consciously chose that path or not, you are inherently a compounding machine. The question isn't if you're compounding, but what you are compounding. Are you compounding debt, distraction, and stagnation? Or are you compounding knowledge, savings, and positive energy? Like planting a seed, you don't see growth instantly, but water it daily, and eventually you get a tree. Or, water it with procrastination and Netflix binges, and you get, well, maybe just really good at identifying minor plot holes. There's a certain feeling that comes with being swept along by unconscious habits, a lack of control, a sense of being reactive to your own patterns. But imagine the opposite, consciously choosing a tiny positive action and feeling the quiet power of intentional consistency, building moment by moment. Okay, here's a tangible action for you right now. For the next 7 days, I want you to try something from the Earn Flow Zone playbook. Pick one tiny positive habit you want to build. Just one. It could be drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, reading one page of a useful book related to finance or personal development, spending 5 minutes planning your highest priority for the day, or even just doing one single push-up. Something small, easily doable, almost laughable in its simplicity. Now, here's the twist. Don't try to build 10 habits at once. Don't try to become a productivity guru overnight. Just pick one and track it. Seriously, grab a sticky note, a journal, use a simple app, whatever works for you. Put a check mark every day you successfully complete that tiny action. That's it. Don't judge yourself if you miss a day. Don't beat yourself up. Just track the hits. See how many check marks you can get in 7 days. Why just track? Because tracking brings awareness. It turns an unconscious action or inaction into a conscious decision point. It shows you, without judgment, what you are actually doing, and it lets you see in real time how consistent you can be, even with something minuscule. This one habit of consciously choosing and tracking tiny actions changed everything for me because it revealed the underlying patterns and showed me I wasn't doomed to repeat them. I could choose to build new ones, one tiny win at a time. It feels good to get those check marks, a little psychological win that compounds too. So what tiny win are you going to track for the next 7 days? The path forward is built one small, deliberate step at a time. You know that feeling? The one where you look at a big goal. Maybe it's crushing that mountain of debt, finally saving enough for a down payment on a home, or building a side hustle into a real business, and your stomach drops because it just feels overwhelming, massive, insurmountable. It's like standing at the base of Everest in your flip-flops. Your brain, bless its overprotective heart, immediately hits the panic button and screams, "Where do I even start? This is too much." And so, what happens? You freeze. You do absolutely nothing. You tell yourself you need the perfect plan, the perfect amount of time, the perfect conditions to even begin. You wait for inspiration to strike, for the stars to align, or maybe just for someone else to do it for you. Spoiler alert, that last one rarely happens. This waiting game, this paralysis by analysis, or rather, paralysis by sheer scale, is one of the most common traps people fall into when trying to improve their financial life or build anything significant. It's a myth that you need to have the entire journey mapped out, step by step, from start to finish, before you take the first move. That level of detail at the beginning is often impossible to achieve, and frankly, unnecessary. The surprising truth, the absolute game changer, is this. You don't need to solve the whole problem today. You don't even need to solve a quarter of it. You just need to figure out and take the single smallest possible step forward today. That's it. If your gargantuan goal is to save $10,000, staring at that number can feel soul-crushing. But the first step isn't finding $10,000 overnight. It might just be opening a separate high-yield savings account online, a process that takes maybe 10 minutes. Or maybe the smallest step is deciding right now that you are going to pack your lunch tomorrow instead of buying it, saving yourself $10 or $15. These tiny, almost insignificant steps seem trivial compared to the mountain you want to climb, but they are incredibly powerful. Why? Because they do several critical things. Firstly, they break the paralysis of overwhelm. Taking any action, no matter how small, signals to your brain that movement is possible. You've shifted from stuck to moving. Secondly, they build momentum. Each tiny completed step, like opening that account or successfully packing that lunch, creates a small win. Your brain loves completion. It releases feel-good chemicals that motivate you to take the next small step. It's like getting the first level up in a video game. It makes you want to keep playing. This momentum is what carries you forward when motivation inevitably wanes. You don't need massive motivation to take a tiny step. People dramatically underestimate the cumulative power of small actions performed consistently. Trying to jump to the top is overwhelming and usually results in failure or never starting. But taking one tiny step, then another, that builds a staircase. Over time, that staircase gets you to the top. The habit of identifying and taking that smallest possible step is profoundly effective because it lowers the barrier to entry to almost zero. It bypasses the overwhelm by making the task seem laughably manageable. Try this for a week. Identify one major financial or growth goal that feels overwhelming. Then, brainstorm one ridiculously small action you could take today that moves you even 0.001% closer. Can you spend 5 minutes decluttering one corner of your workspace for your business? Can you open a debt spreadsheet and just input one debt amount? Can you cancel one unused subscription? Take that tiny step today, then do it again tomorrow, finding a new tiny step. See how quickly that momentum builds and how the mountain starts to look less daunting. One tiny step at a time. This shift from solving it all now to taking the smallest step today fundamentally changed how I approached big goals, both financially and personally. It's the difference between staying frozen at the bottom and actually starting the climb. Okay, let's dive into the core idea behind Section 5, identity over outcome. This concept is incredibly powerful, yet often overlooked when we set goals, especially financial ones. Think about someone starting a fitness journey, a super common scenario, right? They might kick off with this massive, ambitious workout plan that feels utterly overwhelming after day 2. They miss a session because life instantly feel like a failure, maybe even a fraud, and eventually they just quit. All that initial motivation dissolves because the outcome they focused on, like lose 20 pounds in a month, felt too big, too far away, and too easily derailed. Now, let's flip the script. Imagine someone who simply decides, okay, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes every single day. That's it. It sounds almost ridiculously small compared to the big outcome of getting fit. The immediate outcome, weight loss or noticeable muscle gain, might be slower initially. You're probably not going to run a marathon next week just from walking 15 minutes. But here's the magic, the truly surprising insight that changes everything. Those tiny, consistent actions don't just create results, they fundamentally create identity. Every time that person laces up their shoes for just 15 minutes, they're not just doing exercise. They are reinforcing the belief, the identity of, I am someone who walks every day. This identity is incredibly powerful because it's built on proof, concrete, undeniable actions they've taken. This principle applies directly to your financial life, and honestly, this one habit changed everything for me when I finally grasped it. Every single time you choose to take a tiny, positive financial step, whether it's tracking a single purchase in a budget app, transferring a modest $5 to your savings account, or simply spending 5 minutes reading one article about investing or debt repayment, you're doing more than just managing money in that moment. You are actively sculpting your identity. You are reinforcing the identity of I am someone who is responsible with my money. Or, I am someone who learns about building wealth. Or, I am someone who prioritizes my financial future. This identity shift is absolutely foundational, and it becomes wonderfully, powerfully self-reinforcing. When you identify as a saver, saving becomes less of a chore and more just what you do. Like how someone who identifies as a runner just goes for a run because that's part of who they are. You don't have to motivate yourself from scratch each time. The identity pulls you forward. So let's make this actionable. Ask yourself, what financial identity do you want to build? Do you want to be a saver, an investor, a debt-free person, someone who understands money? Pick just one. Now, think about the smallest possible action someone with that identity would take today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. It needs to be laughably easy. Maybe it's literally finding the login for your bank account. Maybe it's transferring $1. Maybe it's reading the first paragraph of an investing article. Whatever it is, do that one tiny, almost insignificant thing. Just one. Try this for a week. Do that one tiny thing related to your chosen identity every single day. You'll be amazed at how quickly that new identity starts to feel like you. Okay, let's talk about the real engine of financial growth. And spoiler alert, it's probably not what you see on social media. Welcome back to Earn Flow Zone. Most of us picture financial success like a highlight reel. The big win, the savvy investment that exploded, the moment you paid off debt with one grand gesture. But the truth? The real, lasting wealth, the kind that gives you peace of mind and actual freedom, is built brick by boring brick. It's not about chasing the flashy trends or hoping for a lottery ticket win in the stock market. It's about showing up consistently for the financial equivalent of brushing your teeth or doing laundry. Think about it. Going to the gym once for 3 hours won't get you fit. It's the consistent, slightly dull 30-minute workouts day after day, week after week. Financial strength is exactly the same. Let's be honest, budgeting isn't exactly thrilling. Automating savings lacks that immediate dopamine hit you get from clicking buy. Reviewing your past month's expenses? Yeah, that's about as glamorous as sorting socks. These actions aren't designed for viral TikToks or dramatic movie montages. They're routine. They're repetitive. They are, by design, boring. And yet, they are the absolute bedrock of financial stability and growth. Picture the person who spends just 15 minutes every Sunday reviewing their upcoming week's finances, maybe reallocating a few dollars, just checking in. It's a small, almost insignificant act in isolation. It's utterly unsexy. You could easily skip it. Most people do. But here's the surprising insight, the real power in doing the boring thing. Precisely because most people aren't willing to do these simple, consistent, unglamorous tasks. Doing them creates your significant advantage, while others are chasing shiny objects and feeling overwhelmed or out of control with their money. You are quietly building structure, clarity, and intentionality. That 15-minute weekly check-in, compounded over years, gives you an understanding of your money flow that someone impulsively spending their way through life will never have. It's the difference between trying to navigate a maze blindfolded and having a map. The boring habit is the map. It might not be exciting to draw or read, but it gets you where you want to go reliably. The consistent tracking, the regular saving, the mindful review. These aren't constraints, they're control mechanisms. They give you power over your money instead of letting your money have power over you. Try this for a week. Choose one boring but effective financial habit. Maybe it's tracking every single dollar you spend for 3 days, using a simple note on your phone or an app. Maybe it's spending 10 minutes reviewing your bank statement to understand where your money actually went last month. Or perhaps it's setting up a small automatic transfer, just $5 or $10, from your checking to a savings account for next payday. Pick one. Now here's the key. Schedule it into your calendar. Literally block out the time. Treat it like an important appointment you wouldn't cancel. What's stopping you from giving yourself the small, consistent win? This one habit could change everything, not because of the immediate result, but because it builds the muscle of financial discipline. You know that feeling when you finally decide to tackle something big, like really big. Maybe it's getting your finances completely sorted, losing 30 pounds, or learning a new skill from scratch. You get this surge of motivation, right? You're going to go all in. You decide, okay, this weekend, I'm building the perfect budget spreadsheet, downloading every financial app under the sun, reading 5 books on investing, and mapping out my entire financial future. And for maybe 48 glorious hours, you are a financial superhero. You're intense. You're focused. You're probably caffeinated to oblivion. And then, poof, it happens almost inevitably. You hit a wall. The intensity becomes exhausting, and you burn out faster than a match in a hurricane. You drop it all. All that incredible effort feels wasted, and you're right back where you started, maybe even feeling a bit defeated. We've all been there. This is the trap of all or nothing. It's the financial equivalent of a crash diet or cramming for an exam the night before. You put in a massive, unsustainable burst of effort, hoping for instant transformation. But real, lasting change rarely works that way. Now, contrast that frantic, intense weekend with a different approach, one that might feel almost too simple to be effective. Imagine someone who dedicates just 10 to 15 minutes each day to one single financial task. On Monday, they simply check their bank accounts and credit card balances. Tuesday, they pay one small bill or transfer $10 into savings. Wednesday, they read one short article or watch one quick video about personal finance. Thursday, they track their spending for the day or week so far. Friday, they spend those 10 minutes planning their upcoming necessary purchases for the next week. See the difference? It's low intensity. It doesn't feel like a heroic effort. There's no weekend-long finance marathon involved, but it's high consistency. Day after day, week after week, they are engaging with their money. And here is the surprising truth, the one that defies our tendency to chase dramatic, immediate results. Consistency almost always beats sporadic intensity in the long run. Think of it like compound interest, but for habits and progress. Those small daily actions build upon each other. They create momentum. They build resilience because you're not getting overwhelmed. They forge sustainable habits without triggering that instant burnout response. It's the slow, steady stream that carves the canyon, not the flash flood. That single frantic weekend? Great for a temporary ego boost, maybe, but those consistent 10-minute blocks? That is how you build a solid financial foundation, brick by brick. It feels slower at first, but the progress is sticky, and it lasts. This one habit changed everything for me. When I stopped trying to conquer my entire money situation in one go and started just showing up for 10 minutes. It took away the dread and replaced it with a sense of manageable progress. So, here's the action step for you right now. Instead of staring down that giant financial task list and feeling overwhelmed, break just one of those big tasks down into chunks that could take only 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe it's finding all your subscription services, gathering 5 recent bills, or setting up a simple budget category in an app. Your only job today is to commit to doing just one of those small chunks. Set a timer if you need to. When the time is up, stop, even if you're not finished. You can pick it up tomorrow. Try this for a week, just 5 to 10 minutes a day on one small financial action. See how much less resistance you feel, and watch how those small wins start to build. It's not about perfection or speed. It's about showing up every single day. That's where the real power lies. So, we've talked about compounding your income, compounding your skills, even compounding your investments, letting those little seeds of effort grow into mighty financial trees. But there's another area where compounding works its magic, one that's arguably more fundamental than your bank account balance or your skill set, your mind. Welcome to the mental compound effect. You might think of compounding strictly in mathematical terms, interest on interest, growth on growth. But think about it this way. Every single time you consciously choose to see the silver lining instead of dwelling on the cloud, every time you pivot from complaining to finding a solution, every single day you make a conscious decision to focus on what you have rather than what you lack. You're not just having a momentarily good thought. You are making a tiny deposit into your mental resilience account. You are compounding your capacity for positivity, patience, and tendencies, and perseverance. People often underestimate the power of these micro-choices. It's like how skipping one gym, you develop it by making hundreds, thousands of small positive mental choices over weeks, months, years. Each small choice builds on the last, strengthening those neural pathways that lead to helpful perspectives. Think about someone who dedicates 5 minutes each morning to journaling 3 things they are grateful for. This tiny act, compounded daily, gradually rewires their brain to look for the positive, changing their entire perspective over time. Your brain's default setting isn't always optimized for happiness or growth, kind of like how your phone's autocorrect is convinced you meant ducking instead of, well, you know. You have to train it. Let's use a relatable metaphor. Think of your mind like a social media feed. What you choose to engage with, what you scroll past, what you actively seek out, that's what shapes your algorithm. If you constantly engage with negativity, drama, and comparison, your feed will be full of it. If you intentionally seek out inspiring content, funny videos, and educational posts, your feed transforms. Your internal mental feed works the same way. Every time you choose gratitude over lack, reframe failure as a lesson, or opt for patience over frustration, you're training your brain's algorithm to show you more of that positive reality. This one habit, consistently directing your focus, even for a few minutes daily, changed everything for me in how I approach challenges and opportunities. This isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring real problems. It's about building the capacity to navigate challenges with resilience, clarity, and a solution-oriented mindset. It's about ensuring that when tough times hit, your default mental framework is one of strength and possibility, not defeat and despair. It's the ultimate cause and effect loop. Better thoughts lead to better feelings, which lead to better actions, which lead to better results. So, how do you start leveraging this incredible force? It begins with intentionality and small, consistent practice. It starts with making those deliberate, tiny deposits into your mental resilience bank. Action. For the next 7 days, dedicate 5 minutes each day to a simple mindset practice. Write down one small win from the day, list one thing you learned, or simply sit quietly for 5 minutes focusing on your breath. This isn't about achieving enlightenment overnight. It's about making those tiny daily deposits into your mental well-being. Over time, you'll be astonished at the resilience, clarity, and positive outlook that compounds within you, influencing every other area of your life, including your financial journey. You've got big dreams. Maybe it's crushing debt, saving for a down payment, or building a side hustle that could change your life. But sometimes, looking at the mountain ahead feels utterly paralyzing. The inertia is real, like trying to push a boulder that's been sitting still forever. You feel like you need a massive burst of energy or motivation just to budge it. People often underestimate just how powerful that feeling of being stuck can be. This is where we talk about the incredible, almost magical power of momentum, built not by giant leaps, but by small actions. Think of it like this. Getting a heavy freight train moving from a dead stop requires immense power and effort. But once it's rolling, even at a snail's pace initially, it's much easier to keep it going and gradually pick up speed until it's an unstoppable force. Your personal finance and growth journey is exactly the same. Starting feels impossible when you're stuck, but once you get moving, even slowly, it becomes exponentially easier to keep going. Your first small action is the spark that breaks that brutal inertia. Opening that dreaded envelope containing a bill you know isn't good news. Finally logging into that budgeting app you downloaded ages ago but never touched. Or even just transferring that first symbolic $10 or $20 into a dedicated savings account. These aren't just trivial steps. They are inertia breakers. They create a tiny ripple that starts the flow, the beginning of momentum. For beginners feeling completely overwhelmed by their financial situation or the sheer scope of a new goal, the objective isn't perfection or solving everything today. It's just getting started on something, anything, no matter how insignificant it seems. It's like the first day back at the gym after a long break. The hardest part often isn't the workout itself, but just putting on your shoes and walking out the door. Once you're there, doing one set of reps or walking on the treadmill for 5 minutes feels surprisingly achievable. For mid-earners looking to optimize, perhaps your small action today is simply reviewing one monthly subscription you barely use but keep paying for. Just identifying it, not even canceling it yet. For ambitious builders chasing a new income stream or skill, maybe it's sending just one cold email you've been drafting in your head for weeks, or committing to just 30 minutes of truly focused, deep work on your single most important task. Phone on silent. Absolutely no distractions allowed. It sounds ridiculously simple, doesn't it? Like, seriously, that's it? That's the big secret? Yes, seriously. That little bit is where the magic starts. The surprising insight here, the thing most people completely overlook, is that the absolute hardest part of any significant task, especially something related to financial change or a big personal goal, is almost always just starting. Not the messy middle where problems crop up, not the final push to the finish line, but that initial moment of overcoming inertia and beginning. Think of a notoriously messy room. The worst part is usually deciding to start cleaning. Picking up the first stray item makes the next one slightly less daunting, and suddenly you're clearing a corner. A small action makes starting less intimidating precisely because the mental hurdle required to initiate it is so incredibly low. You trick your brain into thinking, okay, I can handle tiny thing. This isn't scary. And this is where the momentum builds its incredible power. Doing that one tiny, seemingly insignificant step provides immediate psychological proof. It sends a clear signal to your brain. Hey, I can actually do this. I am capable of taking action. I started. This small win, this little victory over inertia, fuels confidence and makes taking the next small step feel not just possible, but genuinely easier. You've shifted from being stuck, a static object resisting motion, to being in motion, no matter how slow the initial speed. It's the beginning of a virtuous cycle, the snowball effect in reverse. You start with a tiny snowflake of action, and it gathers mass and speed with each subsequent step. You build psychological proof that you can do it, fueling the next action and the action after that. So here is your concrete action for this section, your immediate takeaway to implement right now, today, before you do anything else. Think of one financial task or one mindset task that you've been avoiding, consciously or unconsciously. Just one thing. It could be anything from checking your actual bank balance when you're scared to look, finding that one overdue bill you stuffed in a drawer, or researching that one investment term you keep hearing but don't understand. Now, take that task and break it down into the absolute first, tiniest, most non-threatening step possible. What is the single, smallest physical or mental thing you could do today to move forward on that specific task? Your job is incredibly simple. Do only that step today. Don't think about step 2. Don't plan the whole journey. Just take that one single, small action. You will be genuinely amazed at the momentum it starts building. Now, let's talk about something that holds many of us back, something you might not even realize is sabotaging your progress. It's not a lack of time, but how you're using the time you already have. You feel overwhelmed, right? Like there aren't enough hours in the day to tackle your finances, learn something new, or just get things done. You look at successful people and think they must have huge blocks of uninterrupted time. But here's the surprising truth. The secret isn't finding more time. It's leveraging the tiny windows you already have scattered throughout your day. Think about it. We all have these little pockets of time. Waiting in line at the grocery store. That 15-minute lull before a meeting starts. The commute. If you're not driving, obviously. The 10 minutes before you finally decide to scroll yourself to sleep. Or maybe the first 15 minutes you're awake before the chaos begins. Most people, including perhaps you right now, instinctively fill these moments with passive consumption. You pull out your phone, open social media, maybe scroll through news headlines. It feels like a break. A little mental pause. And yes, sometimes that's necessary. But imagine for a moment, if you repurposed just one of these tiny windows. Let's say you consistently have 10 minutes while your morning coffee brews. Right now, maybe you just stare into the abyss or scroll through cat videos. No judgment, we've all been there. What if instead, that 10 minutes became your financial power-up zone? In that tiny window, you could log into your banking app and pay one quick bill that's due soon. Or perhaps you could quickly reconcile the last few transactions in your budgeting app. Maybe you open a saved article about investing basics that you keep meaning to read and just get through a few paragraphs. You could listen to a 5-minute clip from an educational podcast about debt reduction. Or simply use the time to quickly plan your next small, productive step for the day. This is the core concept that impacts your financial and personal growth in a way that feels almost like cheating. You're not carving out an hour on a Saturday morning. You're using minutes that were essentially already free, just being wasted. The surprising insight here is how dramatically these seemingly insignificant minutes compound. 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, is 50 minutes. Over a month, that's over 3 hours of focused, goal-directed time you didn't have before. Over a year, that's days of productive effort added to your life, simply by shifting your focus in moments you used to fill with digital cotton candy. This habit challenges the common thinking that you need large, uninterrupted blocks of time for serious progress. It busts the myth that productivity requires heroic, large-scale efforts. It doesn't. It requires consistency in the small available minutes. The cause? Consistent use of tiny windows. The effect? Minutes become hours. Small tasks get done. Overwhelm decreases. And progress accelerates without the burnout. This one habit changed everything for me when I realized how much time I was letting slip through my fingers, minute by minute. So here's a prompt for action, directly challenging you to put this into practice. Try this for 3 days. Identify just one recurring 5 to 10 minute window in your day. Is it while the microwave runs? Waiting to pick up a kid? That time right before you leave for work? Find that window. Now, assign a specific, small, productive task to that exact window for the next 3 days. Make it something simple from our examples. While my coffee brews, I will review yesterday's spending. Or, while waiting in line at lunch, I will pay bill X. Or, for 10 minutes before bed, I will listen to a podcast clip about saving. Don't overthink it. Just pick one window, one task, and commit for 72 hours. Ask yourself, what tiny window are you currently filling with passive consumption? And what single, small productive task could you assign to it starting tomorrow? The answer might just be the first step to reclaiming your time and accelerating your growth. So you've got your destination in mind. Maybe you've even mapped out a grand plan. But sometimes, looking at that mountain of change you want to make, whether it's financial freedom or a completely new mindset, can feel utterly overwhelming. It's like standing at the base of Everest in flip-flops, right? You know you should start climbing, but where and how? This is where most people freeze. They wait for this mythical surge of motivation, this perfect alignment of the stars and their energy levels. But here's a surprising truth, one that flips conventional wisdom on its head. Motivation often follows action. It doesn't always precede it. You're not waiting for the spark. You are the spark plug when you take that first tiny step. This isn't some feel-good platitude. It's wired into your brain's operating system through something incredibly powerful. The feedback loop of small wins. Think about it. Why do tiny actions work so well when massive overhauls fail? Because they create a positive, self-reinforcing cycle. When you decide to take just one minuscule action, like tracking that single coffee expense today, or setting aside literally $5, or even just taking 30 seconds to visualize a positive financial outcome, and you complete it, something magical happens. You get a small win. It feels good. It feels like progress, no matter how microscopic. That small win triggers a release of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's heavily involved in motivation and reinforcement learning. It tells your brain, hey, whatever you just did, that felt good. You should probably do that again. It's like getting a tiny level up notification in a video game. It encourages you to keep playing. This little hit of positivity makes you more likely to repeat that action tomorrow. Repeat the action, get another small win, another hit of dopamine, and you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that behavior. It's not about relying on brute force willpower, which is a finite resource. Let's be honest. Willpower is like trying to hold your breath for an hour. The feedback loop, however, is like building a self-powering engine, fueled by your own mini accomplishments. Each completed action makes the next action slightly easier, slightly more appealing. It reduces the friction of starting, because you've already proven to yourself, on a chemical level, that you can do it, and that it feels rewarding to do it. This is the power of starting small. You're not trying to bench press your entire financial future on day one. You're just picking up the empty bar. And that tiny effort, that completed rep, creates the momentum. It proves to your brain that motion is possible, and motion feels better than inertia. People often underestimate the explosive power of consistency built on tiny, repeatable wins. It's how habits form, how mountains are climbed one step at a time, how significant change becomes not just possible, but inevitable. This one habit, the habit of starting small and acknowledging the win, changed everything for me. It's the secret sauce that turns ambition into action, not because you feel motivated first, but because you generate motivation by acting. Okay, let's make this real for you right now. Ask yourself, what's stopping you from taking one tiny, laughably small action towards your money or mindset goals today? Maybe it was just opening that budgeting app, or reading one paragraph of a personal development book, or declining that impulse purchase you usually make. Reflect on a small positive money or mindset action you took recently. Even just thinking about something positively counts. Acknowledge that win, no matter how tiny. Genuinely, high-five yourself mentally. Notice how it made you feel, even if it was just a brief flicker of, okay, I did a thing. And then, plan to repeat it or another similarly tiny action soon. Don't wait for motivation. Create it. All right, we've covered a lot of ground, exploring different facets of building your earn flow zone, from managing money to mastering your mindset. But everything we've discussed, every strategy, every principle, boils down to this final undeniable truth: ignorance isn't bliss. In the world of financial growth and self-mastery, it's a one-way ticket to stagnation. So let's face it directly. You've probably seen the shiny objects, the get-rich-quick schemes, the stories of overnight successes. The power isn't out there in the lottery ticket, the mythical big break you keep waiting for, or some secret hack. It's right here, in your hands, in the tiny, often boring, consistent actions you take or don't take today. This single principle, the compounding effect of small, consistent action, is the universal law. It applies whether you're trying to scrape together your first $100, patiently build a substantial investment portfolio, or strategically scale a multi-million-dollar business. Think of it like building anything substantial. Say, a magnificent sandcastle. You don't just drop a giant pile of sand and declare it done. You scoop, you pat, you add water, you refine. It's repetitive, sometimes tedious work, but each tiny scoop adds to the structure. In finance and life, these small scoops are your habits, your decisions, your daily discipline. It's the foundation of momentum and the quiet, unstoppable builder of mastery and wealth. Now, if you choose to ignore this lesson, what happens? You don't just stay neutral. That's the surprising myth. Inaction isn't a pause button. It's an active process of decay. Like a muscle you stop using or a garden you stop tending. If procrastination were a skill, some of us would be Olympic gold medalists. But sadly, it only earns you a gold medal in staying exactly where you are. You keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect amount of motivation. You stay stuck in overwhelm because the perceived gap feels too big. You continue to believe that big changes require big, dramatic, impossible efforts. And since those feel overwhelming, you do nothing. You don't just maintain your position, you actively compound inaction, allowing stagnation and frustration to deepen their roots, while the gap between where you are and where you want to be silently, consistently grows wider. This isn't about being perfect from day one. Far from it. It's about progress, one tiny, imperfect step at a time. It's about building the identity of someone who takes action, who understands the power of compounding effort, who trusts the process even when the results aren't immediately obvious. It's about leveraging the most powerful force in the universe, compounding, not just with your money in a savings account or investment, but with your habits, your skills, your mindset, and ultimately, your life. The earn flow zone isn't a mythical destination you arrive at with one giant heroic leap. It's the state of being you create by consistently choosing to take the next right small step again and again, slowly, surely, building unstoppable momentum. Your single next step today. You've absorbed these ideas, perhaps felt a spark of recognition or motivation. Don't let it evaporate. Choose one single, small action from this script related to money or mindset that resonates most with you. It could be tracking just one expense, deciding to save a single dollar, reading one paragraph of a relevant book, or simply planning out your next 10 minutes with intention. Now, do it right now, before you do anything else. Close this video after you've taken that step. Don't plan to do it later. Do it now. This isn't just a task. It's a micro decision that proves to yourself, undeniably, that you are someone who takes action. Someone who understands that small steps compound into significant change. Take that step.